Hi, my name is AJ Gilbert. I'm the founder and CEO of Chefsheet.com. We're a web and mobile app for bar, restaurant, food service inventory. Our mission is twofold. The first is to provide a mobile app for counting and ordering all the products that restaurants must buy. It's a huge pain point, it takes a very long time. And the second is to take that information and allow users to share the prices they've paid for product across the platform so that they can see how the prices they're getting for the things they buy compare to other users in their area. So again, there are two problems. The first is counting sucks. People hate it. It's done in the middle of the night. It's a long process. It's usually done in pen and paper and Excel. There's a lot of errors. So we provide a mobile app to make that much faster. And the second is that the products restaurants buy are commodities. The prices change all the time. And the restaurants don't know if the prices are changing because of market conditions or just because their suppliers are increasing their own profit margins. I have about 25 years of restaurant management experience, and for about 15 years I owned and operated my own restaurant company. My wife Martha is a co-founder, also a restaurateur and a restaurant recruiter. And our CTO is a gentleman named Harinder, who's a full-stack developer and an MBA as well. Again, the two problems, counting with the mobile app solves the pain point of the count and placing orders. All this can be done mobilely without Excel, without pencils, without paper. And then comparing prices. So once you have the information for counting inventory in the system, you can compare those prices anonymously with other users. So everybody counts asparagus, compare the prices across the platform. Restaurants purchase product from, generally 5 or 6 suppliers will supply one restaurant. The suppliers are free to set the prices however they want. The restaurants only know how much they've been charged usually after the invoice arrives. They also know that the prices are always in flux. So, did the price of avocados change because there was a freeze in the avocado market, or did the price of avocados change because the supplier's charging more? They just don't know. An example, an inventory is a list of the products used and the prices. Almost every restaurant buys lemons, right? So Charlie's Lemonade restaurant uses Chefsheet to count inventory and place orders. They started buying lemons for $1.97 a pound. They're now paying $2.47. It's costing them about $1,500 a month. Why is that? Downtown Lemonade restaurant also uses Chefsheet. They're buying lemons from a different supplier for $1.67 per pound. When they're using Chefsheet, Charlie's can see that there's a restaurant downtown that's buying lemons for $1.67 a pound and where they're buying them from. They can see that's cheaper than what they're paying, and they can use that information to contact Family Citrus Grove and say, hey, can I get those lemons too? They might say no, they might say you don't have the volume or something like that, but now that they have the information of what the market's doing, and not just one data point, they might have dozens, hundreds. Current usage. So we have the two problems, the two solutions. We sell a software as a service product for counting, managing inventory. It does a lot of other things as well. We have about 1,400 pay users. We have a free plan with about 200 free users that kind of come and go. Last year's sales were about $185,000, and this is from selling software as a service for counting and managing inventory. The goal is to scale to make greater use of the social functions. Obviously, the more users, the more data, and the more information to compare. So as we scale to provide the passive social network where people can share the prices for the items that they've entered into the platform, and then to create active sharing tools where people can review products for quality, review vendors for the relationship, and how consistently they price their products and share that information as well. So when you're looking at those lemons, you can see not only is it cheaper, that vendor is very consistent with their prices, they deliver on time, they're good lemons, all the other qualities of the product you would need to make a decision that you want to buy from somewhere else. Eventually, this can become a unified platform for people to purchase products. So one of the challenges, you can see that lemons are cheaper, you can see they're a better quality, but you do have to set up a credit relationship with that supplier. You can't just say, send me a case of lemons. There's generally, some more work that goes into it. like Amazon has done for a lot of retail, Chefsheet can do for the restaurant space by creating a unified platform where people can buy product, create the credit relationship between the restaurant and the supplier, figure out delivery minimums and all that kind of stuff. So right now, you go through the list of products that you're going to buy from one vendor, you place that order. What if you could shop from the entire marketplace of vendors and pick the best prices and the best quality, revolving throughout the day, throughout the week? The restaurant provisioning market is huge. It's almost as big as grocery stores. In North America, 750,000 restaurants, roughly $750 billion in sales. If you think about all the product that goes into restaurants, liquor, food, paper products, and all that stuff, it's a gigantic market. Cisco Foods and US Foods are the two largest food service distributors in North America. In Texas, Benny Keith, you probably see their trucks. They're pretty big here as well. Their average profit margins are about 18% a year. Independent restaurants make about 4%. So the ultimate goal is to kind of take some of the margin from the distributors and reallocate that back to the restaurants. The distributors have a huge advantage in that relationship as it is now because they know the price for lemons and the restaurant doesn't. Competition, so the software as a service product, there are some competitors in the space. We have a really different take on how to do it, a much lighter solution that allows for different levels of use. Restaurants can be very small businesses. Most of the competitors are creating more of an accounting product where you have to switch a lot of your existing systems into their platform. We can do that, but we allow people to start much smaller. So somebody could actually just take the app and start counting their liquor inventory one night that they have to do inventory and start getting value from it right away, whereas all these other things, it'll take you about a month to get set up, and they're much more expensive. Nobody, as far as we know, is interested in getting into the space of price comparison, and they can't really do that because they're establishing relationships with the product, with the vendors, with Cisco and stuff, whereas that's not our intent. We want to create relationships with the restaurants. Two asks from the community. We are working on a new seed round. We want to raise up to $500,000 to increase scale and make technical. There's a huge AI challenge in comparing products across the platform that we want to continue to develop. And then, of course, scale. It's all about scale. You can have scale in New York and San Francisco, but getting the scale in Oklahoma City is going to require a lot more marketing. We're also looking for technical co-founders, people that can join our team and are interested in the space and have coding skills, particularly in the languages that we're coded in, which is Ruby on Rails and mobile. So we're looking for a couple different partnerships, one technical and one financial. And that's all. Thank you.
AJ, thank you for the presentation. So having a little bit of background in food restaurant industry as well, I don't think most people understand that you go to a restaurant and you say, oh, their prices are so high, they must be making a fortune. In general, the restaurant industry is really tough. They can't control food costs and change their prices daily like other people can. They don't have electronic devices where they can change the price on electronic TV or TVs and those type of things on a whim. So the margins are tight. And any small restaurateur is constantly fighting the battle of pricing on a daily basis. This tool is huge for the small independents. They don't have the buying power necessarily or the time to find all these things out. So great tool. Questions?
Hi, nice presentation.
Thank you.
Where are you getting the data for pricing? Is that customer driven or is that from
it's customer driven. It's all ground up. So, you have a restaurant, you want to count inventory. To do that, you have to put your products into the platform. So the minute you count your lemons, you're putting lemons in the price you pay and who you bought them from in order to place orders to them. Part of the platform is you can send orders to the suppliers, and that's the information that creates that graph of pricing.
Nice presentation, by the way. Does your app lend itself, it occurs to me since you're counting, does your app allow restaurant owners to identify theft?
Well, yeah, I mean, part of the inventory process, and one of the things that I personally spend a lot of time doing is teaching new customers really what inventory can be. And part of the process of taking a good inventory, so some of our people are converting from Excel and some are converting from nothing. And one of the reasons that you need to take a good inventory count is to identify theft. So you started with one case of wine, you bought another case of wine, and you ended with one case of wine, you should have sold 2. But if you ended with no cases of wine and you didn't sell, and you sold 2, then 1 was stolen. So in order to identify theft, you have to have an inventory at the start of the period and the end of the period. So it's part of it.
And then just 2 more, sorry. Are you only in Dallas-Fort Worth?
Oh God, no. No, we have users all over
All
the
over.
country.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we just signed up some what is it called? Safari camps in Africa. Most of the users, disproportionate number for the size of the country, come from Canada, which
Oh,
I
interesting.
still don't understand why. But we have a lot of Canadian users, of course, a lot of American users, and then we have users mostly in English-speaking countries because the app's in English.
Okay, and then the last one is, how are you currently promoting? I see with the seed money, you're going to move into a more robust PR and marketing campaign, but right now, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, we have great organic search placement, so that's really helpful, and we do a limited amount of Google marketing. We're always kind of toggling between marketing and development. So right now, we're actually developing a new mobile app. So we're really not doing a tremendous amount of marketing at the moment, which is a financial limitation. But yeah, mostly just Google search. The way that somebody sends an email to their staff, says, don't forget to do inventory at the end of the month, and Gmail is really good at putting an ad beside that. So it might say, don't forget to do inventory tomorrow, and it'll say on the right, Chefsheet. That's a really good source for us.
Are there any just-in-time features built into this app? Just in time, predictable, what I need to order and when and how much.
So one of the questions I get asked a lot is, people will do a Google search and they'll say there's tons of inventory apps. There's one called Fishbowl, which has a huge market share, but it's not a restaurant inventory. And the way that inventory in like a warehouse is done is you bought 10 widgets and you sold 3, and so you take that information together and you should have 7 left, and when you get down to 1, you should place an order. Restaurants have a really different problem because so much of the product is being combined in small portions to make a plate of food and stuff like that. They don't really have that ability to say, I bought this much and you should be left with that much. So the way that restaurants kind of manage that problem is to count things a lot. So yes, we have the ability to set minimum levels of product, and then when you count, that'll target an order event. It's called PARs in restaurant parlance, but yes, that is included.
AJ, very nice. I have a couple questions for you. One, the distributors can't like the idea of you because you're kind of opening the kimono to what they do to the restaurants. So do you have IP or any kind of protection to keep them from just developing one of these underneath you?
Well, they don't want to. So I mean, Cisco, for example, has an inventory product that connects to Cisco, and people don't use it because they don't want to just order from Cisco, and it's not very good yet. I'm sure they'll make a great thing. I mean, they've got a lot of money. I believe US Foods has something now, but we partnered with a distributor in Ohio a while ago, and we have some of they're not very big. We do some of that for them as well. But in terms of the SaaS model, yeah, there's the chance that distributors could do that, but they're going to want to lock it into their own ecosystem. But they don't want to let their users see the prices as they compare. Cisco doesn't want their users to see US Foods prices, so it's not something that I think they would ever want to get into.
Okay, so do you have any IP or patents or anything on your structure that protects you?
We have a provisional patent that we could pick up. We're not sure it's defensible and worth the resources, meaning that we have the ability to complete a patent on taking pricing information through the process of inventory. And we obviously researched whether there's nobody that's really done that yet, but the question is, is that a defensible patent? And if the attorney is about to send a bill, it seems to be. If you ask somebody who's not going to write the patent for you, they say, no, it's not defensible.
And the patent office always says no the first 3 times.
Well, that's what happened, is they said no twice, and we kind of said, maybe this isn't worth it.
And then one final question. So the money that you're looking for, have you gone to VCs, or what's your thought on exploring the venture capital route?
So I don't know that we would, I think that with our current sales, we wouldn't get a great valuation. And so what we're trying to do is take this seed round to take a little chunk to get us to a point where we can really kind of hockey stick the growth. So we have some technical stuff that we need to do that will, really improve retention, reduce bounce, so that more people will come and sign up and stay and use. We need to show value much faster and make that process a lot easier. So some of the stuff we need to work on is allowing people to easily submit invoices. So everybody's got a month's worth of invoices in a file cabinet. If we can get that information into the platform, one of the challenges is how do you get users' information in? Some people will have an Excel spreadsheet. We have great tools for importing all that stuff. But we want to be able to read invoices. We want to make the app, the mobile app, much more autonomous, so people can start with the app and really start seeing value right away. And then, of course, additional marketing. And I think with higher sales, going the VC route would be great.
When I think about the agreements that the restaurants might have in place with their distributors or suppliers, are there no confidentiality agreements in place that would create a breach of non-disclosure for sharing their pricing?
So if you reach a level of volume with Cisco, which, and most of our users are relatively small restaurants, but if you get up to about $20 million in sales, you can get a contract with them. It's called Landed Plus. And what that means is that they agree on a specific markup over their landed price for a product. That is not our market. So when you go to Applebee's or something, they're buying beef almost as on the commodities market. They're really far removed. They might use Cisco to distribute it, but they're buying beef from the ranchers, and they're getting very different pricing, and they have all sorts of contracts, whether it's just a futures contract to buy product and stuff, and they probably aren't confidentiality agreements and stuff. But most restaurants that don't have that sales volume are just buying product and getting invoiced, and they don't have a contract. And the information, you can't own. If I asked you how much did you pay for your car, Toyota or Mercedes or whatever, can't say that information is classified. You can't divulge it. Unless you entered into a specific contract for them. So that's not the way they typically do it. The restaurants will buy from many different suppliers. It is a risk that if at scale that Cisco or one of the big distributors could say, we're going to require our customers to sign an agreement that says they won't share this information. But if you opt out of the sharing from the platform, you don't get the benefit of it anymore. So is it worth trusting Cisco to say, I'm not going to share my information, I'm going to trust you, and I won't be able to see what anybody else is paying any longer? Is that a bargain you're willing to make, would be the ultimate question.
That's really helpful. I just didn't understand how the agreements work, but I know that sharing information like that can be a breach of confidentiality. So it's great to know that's not really your market. But on the other hand, there is the question of data integrity, right? So even if you're not in that whatever tier you called out with Cisco, there are other negotiations that take place. There could be volume-based discounts or other concessions that companies are making when they're, buying products. So I'm going to buy 50,000 lemons if you give me a break on these avocados. So, how do you account for those concessions?
So, if it's all in good faith, then if I call the downtown, I forget what I called it in my demo, but if I call the lemon distributor and I say, I see that you're charging $1.67 for lemons, can I get that price? And they say, sure, you have to buy 100 cases a week. that's the price for 100 cases a week. I say, no, I don't have that kind of volume. What's the best price you can do? So it's about providing that information. Again, right now, what you know is that, so typically when a new restaurant opens, or if they're at an inflection point where they want to do this, they'll negotiate they'll have a produce vendor come in, they'll look at price lists. The produce vendor will say, I can do better on 90% of your stuff. And then within a week, it goes up 10%. The next week, it goes up another 10%. And eventually they're paying whatever they're being charged again. So it's about having the visualization to see what the market is. It's not just seeing one point. You'll see an average. You'll see the lowest. You'll see the highest. And you might find out that your prices are high but fair because you have very low volume. But then and the next time and the time after that, and every time you're ordering that product, the reason that you're paying more, and you can make decisions. Maybe you want to add a bunch of dishes to the menu that have lemons because it's important to you to get a lower lemon price, and you can, it's about providing that information back to the user at the point of making that purchase.
AJ, if you would like to share, what are you planning to offer for the 500K or the co-founder that you're looking for?
I would share if I knew. It's all kind of up in the air. It's flexible. It depends on what sort of relationship it was.
A couple more questions.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Is price discovery the only USP of your product?
No, I mean, I think we have a better way for. Again, there's the two pain points. The counting is a big problem. I used to work at a restaurant that had an attic, a basement, and we had about 500 bottles of wine on our wine list, and we probably sold about 50 of those. And every month you'd have to count, and because of the way restaurant inventory works, you have to count after sales are over and before deliveries come in. So once a month, I would be crawling around in an attic and a basement until literally 6 in the morning, counting French wines, looking at labels that you can't read. They all look the same. It's just a terrible pain point. So our mobile app is better than others, and it's much lighter. So we have a lot of users. You saw we had some free users that might just be a bar manager and just want to count product at the end of their day, or a chef that just wants to order their seafood through the app. We have a different perspective. A lot of the people that are doing this are coming from an accounting or technology background, and we have a much more operator-driven perspective. So, I think our mobile app is a real. The logic of how our mobile app works is an advantage over others. The fact that it's a much lighter entry point, that anybody can kind of pick it up and start using it.
Thank you. I have one other question. Like the way a restaurateur would know about the competitive supplier pricing, would you expose the same data to the supplier so that he knows?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this, and there's a slide or something where if let's say you have lemons or tomatoes, and you're a farmer and you're not part of the big market, but you've got a few restaurants you sell to in the city or something like that, you might want to target a message to people who are paying more for tomatoes than you can sell and say, listen, I can sell those tomatoes for you. Or you might be a produce supplier that has hundreds of products and you could just target a message. Or you might be a liquor brand and you want to target a message to, you have a tequila, and you want to target a message to a Mexican restaurant. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. I have friends that have worked for tech companies that have 200 employees and less sales than we do, and I see what they do all day. There's so many things you can do. We just haven't had the resources to kind of explore all that stuff.
Okay. Last question. Since you've already told us what you're looking for, I'll kind of go one other step. What deliverables do you give back to your clients? In other words, you're selling them a product, you're going in and saying, okay, we have an inventory control system, we have we can give you some buying power by our information data to look at. Do you have anything, or do you have the vision in the future to give them any feedback as far as data that what they're buying and what price they paid, or is that kind of left up to them?
No, that is now you can do that. I mean, one of the challenges outside of knowing where to get better prices is just knowing when your prices have gone up. So, if your supplier is raising your price 10 cents a week, within 6 months, that could be 100%. You just, it's very hard for people to keep track of that. So There are reports that will show you what your prices started at the beginning of a period, what they were at the end of a period. We also have a whole section that does plate cost analytics where you can build recipes out of the products in your inventory so you can see how much it costs to deliver a hamburger with french fries, how much it costs to deliver a cheeseburger, and how much that might have cost at the beginning of the period and how much it costs at the end of the period. So there's a lot of other functionality. You know, we spent a long time kind of flattening the product and adding functionality to make sure that we had the same tools that people were accustomed to in this platform, and now it's really time to build the core product, which is the price comparison.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.